Let's cut some of our fingers off today with Cooking Mama Cookstar. This is a kind of game review I could probably have made without ever buying the game, because the gameplay is so cookie cutter bland, you actually can't tell my footage apart from someone else's because they're so similar. I've never been remotely interested in a Cooking Mama game until exactly 1 year ago, when on March 31st, a brand new Cooking Mama game appeared, seemingly out of nowhere, and then it was delisted off the eShop within a few hours. I managed to snipe a brand new copy from my local EB Games before everyone and their mother started listing it for double the price on eBay, and then I realized why it was taken down in the first place. The biggest problem is that after you look at one of the worst games of all time, the moment you come face to face with typical shovelware grade mediocrity, it's easy to think, oh, this isn't so bad. No, I have to slap myself in the face and remember the bar is low, but it's not that low. Thing is, Cooking Mama Cookstar isn't good either. Take 1 part rice and 2 parts water, throw that shit in the microwave. Yeah, you're gonna get rice, but it's not gonna be good rice now, is it? And behind the bland taste of rice, you see the most thinly veiled attempt at a company's gratuitous desire to use their player base as a marketing tool. I mean, you're working on a Cooking Mama game. How badly do you need your player base to advertise your game for you? Hey everyone, Cooking Mama wants you to make her Instagram famous, so remember to upload your screenshots to actual Twitter. Apparently the art of cooking is now the art of getting validation from people online. Taking the picture of your food is necessary, even though how you take it doesn't matter to the game, and it's not like messing up making the food messes with the end result either. It's all pre-rendered models and not particularly appetizing ones at that. As for Cooking Mama herself, a heavy Japanese accent is exactly the voice I would have given her.
I think you should have your own game.
The voice actress sounds completely disinterested in what you're doing. It's so close to being charming in that, aw, you made a big game all by yourself, didn't you kind of way. But it falls flat because of how few lines there are and how often she talks. Hearing, whoa, you are the real hero, and I think you should have your own game every other minute makes me want to go out into the streets of Fukushima and play Where Can I Die from Radiation Poisoning. The most interesting thing I've done so far is dump so many fries on the plate that I enjoyed the physics bug out in the Tower of Grape and Sushi. That's about all the substance I can really give it too. I mean, the quantity of recipes seems to be generally pretty reasonable, but if your casual game isn't particularly replayable, then it's not worth the asking price now, is it? Oh, and I didn't even get around to the bad yet. The graphics are serviceable art style, being held back by low model fidelity and texture resolution, almost looking like it came right out of the Wii. The frame rate constantly jumps between 60 and 30 depending on what's on screen. The music is nothing but rip tracks from better Cooking Mama games. It's got way too many loading screens. And lastly, the Joy-Con has great hardware in it and the game uses it reasonably well, but it really needs a Wii sensor bar as the cursor keeps shifting somewhere I don't want it to be, and if I want to twist my arms in uncomfortable positions, I could just start annoying police officers. Thing is, what you do is mind-numbingly boring as well, because the only challenge is figuring out what the game wants you to do fast enough and then remember the steps for later. I mean, maybe it'd be challenging if my arms and legs were broken, but as it is, it's pretty easy. And even after all of this, there's a big drama that happened last year. Strap yourselves in, by the way, this part gets kinda weird. This game sucks, no question, and that's exactly why you can't even buy it new anymore. It wasn't even supposed to be created this way either. Planet Entertainment somehow managed to convince Office Create, the actual creators of Cooking Mama, to sub-license their intellectual property to them in exchange for royalties. This is super common that happens in gaming, and Cooking Mama is a great IP to do this with. Essentially, Office Creates gives the right to use the IP to someone else, they make money. The publisher has a developer make the game for them and sell it, they make money. And the developer gets paid for their work, they make money. Sounds simple enough, right? And it helps everyone's bottom line. While they normally get consumers who aren't me to buy the game, the rest of this story is exactly why I'm the idiot that spent $49.99. Planet Entertainment decided to outsource the development to First Playable Productions, a company famous for Disney's Frozen Olaf's Quest. Anyway, they're clearly the ideal developer for the job because First Playable Productions' name sounds like they make rough but fully playable conceptual demos. No offense guys, your name really sucks. And honestly, that is the best way to describe Cookstar, as a fully playable conceptual demo, and I guess Office Create thought the same thing. because Cooking Mama was their property, they did have final say over whether or not this game goes out, to which the publisher said, "La la la, I can't hear you," and released it anyway. Understandably, Office Crate got pissed and used their Nintendo connections to take the game down quickly. What gets really fucking interesting is that Planet Entertainment planned a PS4 release and is apparently still going through with it, considering they made a trailer this month about it. Happy anniversary! Why? Office Create didn't ask for this, the fanbase didn't ask for this. I know the PS4 is the second best console for this game, but it's one of those nobody asked ports. Unlike what I was originally thinking, that it's a bunch of copies that were printed back when the game originally was meant to come out, these copies say that they're from 2021. And I guess that Office Create is just not supposed to notice any of this? Who asked for Cooking Mama for PS4? Isn't the entire premise of the game is that it uses touch and motion controls, which Nintendo consoles have been solid at for 15 years now? On the other hand, the PS4 game does use motion controls, but not like it supports PlayStation Move or PSVR. Only a small subset of mini-games ask you to shake your controller, and that's, good for it, I guess. Interestingly enough, it turns out that Ravenscourt was responsible for the PS4 version. The original box art had their logo featured prominently on the front, which confused some people because nothing about them was mentioned. Then an alternate box art came out a while ago that replaced our logo with Planet Entertainment's, suggesting that Ravenscourt isn't doing anything. It also changed the background, but with the PS4 game's release, we have a final box art where there's neither logo, the original background, but it also mentions that it was still published by Ravenscourt on the back. I'll be honest, I have no idea what they're doing, and I'm kind of tempted to get a copy of Cooking Mama Cookstar for the PS4. Not because I need it in my life, but because it's just weird. I probably wouldn't buy one considering they're $50, but if somebody wants to ship me one, So as Planet Entertainment did fairly little, I guess they needed money to be able to maximize profit off this investment, and they do it by advertising their new acquisition to external investors, leading to that stupid and famous blockchain post. As someone who understands what the hell this means, they're not mining Bitcoin, Ethereum, or any other crypto coins on your machine. Their plan was to mine an alternate coin that they would have created and sold it off to investors, which seems like an alright idea since a Nintendo Switch could probably do that sort of stuff if the difficulty is low enough. Now, mind you, none of this is in the final game. The game did actually make my Switch pretty hot, but that's apparently due to poor optimization and the GPU clock being cranked all the way. That whole post was just there to get people to invest money into the company, so don't worry. Your copy of the game that you didn't buy isn't mining crypto, and it isn't stealing your credit card data. The problem is, if anyone investing thought about this idea for a few moments, they would have realized that they'd be buying shares from a company that's constantly printing them and hoarding them for themselves. While I don't know how this works legally, this does feel like it violates some kind of law somewhere, namely that the shares of a company that's constantly printing them are all effectively going to one person for the cost of $0. And on top of that, they've all kept within an ecosystem literally powered by women in their 40s that have their Switch connected to the internet for some reason. Would mining crypto require Nintendo Online access? Would Grandma need to pay up $24.99 a year just to have less battery life? At some point, that network's gonna go down, and then what? How would you access those shares? This also leads to other problems, such as the constant downloading of data, which is gonna be burning through internal memory that you can't delete to play the game. Because blockchains require everyone to have the same information, if you want to mine crypto yourself using the modern video cards you also probably don't have, you're going to have every transaction ever made on your PC. At some point, this game would be using more memory than a Nintendo Switch could store, at which point the entire system breaks down permanently. Their press announcement was pretty detailed, like how Planet Entertainment talked about how you would have rewards or how it would be a form of digital rights management. I've actually never seen anyone break down exactly how their statement doesn't make any sense, so here's a breakdown. Mind you, I don't think they really thought about what they were writing when making this, so I'm just chalking this entire incident up to incompetence rather than malice. It's technobabble that just barely somehow sounds coherent enough to give me an idea of what they want to do, but it's probably not what they intended to write. Unique blockchain private keys. Each purchased copy of the game will have unique IDs which will be managed directly through the game's internal wallet storage. Players will be able to focus on Cooking Mama's user experience rather than cryptographic key management. What? First off, every copy of every game has a unique ID. Yeah, that's been a thing for a while. It's a good and simple anti-piracy mechanism, although their IDs aren't managed through a wallet storage, but from the data burnt on the copy. Otherwise, why not copy a wallet or ask to make a new one from the server? Plus, people will be focused on the UX instead of crypto management. Outside of modders trying to bypass the central server, handing out bans for having tens of thousands of players use the same unique ID, I can't see why any player would ever worry about cryptographic key management, let alone for a game like Cooking Mama. Private key enabled balanced DRM. Traditional DRM limits the ability to copy games, while private keys on blockchain protocols allows easy registration. These combined items provide greater proof of ownership to legitimate owners of a game, while also allowing them to resell games both digitally and in traditional retail outlets. Wait, so let's say you have a Nintendo Switch at home and you have a Nintendo Switch Lite. What if you take Cookstar on the go from one to the other? Is that going to be enough to trigger the DRM? How many copies of a game can run before the blockchain starts screaming about it being a pirated copy like Spore? Like, say if the ID gets spoofed on a copy of the game, what would it then do? Ban the Switch? Ban the cartridge ID? If you don't manage this properly, is there a risk of buying a used copy only to have your console immediately banned? Is there a risk of a pirate accidentally getting your entire game banned? I'll admit though, I don't know exactly how you'd be able to resell a digital copy of a Switch or PS4 game, considering they work entirely on Nintendo's and Sony's ecosystem respectively. Enhanced multiplayer experience with dual expression. This feature, when enabled, makes every copy of a game subtly different and personal to a user. It utilizes a private key to change expression algorithms for characters, ingredients, and cooking methods. Hey, here's an alternate idea. Take a number, any number like the system clock, and multiply it by 1,103,515,245. Afterwards, add 24,691. Take that resulting number and manipulate it with shifting variables based on user play, and keep doing that over and over again. You can also use said resulting number as any number you had before. This is what we call random number generation, and the basic concept's been a thing in gaming since the 1980s. You don't need online to do literally any of this. Securing online events. For promotional events, player records and participation can be tracked while maintaining privacy. In addition, hashes of the running game can be recorded to ensure the game has not been altered to create an unfair advantage. Promotional events, really? I mean, okay. I'll be honest, this is the only mildly interesting use of the blockchain, but you can do that with a regular game's database. I mean, taking memory addresses and checking them with the input variables calculated elsewhere is a valid anti-piracy technique too, to prevent people from modifying memory on their local unit. Granted, doing it locally is exploitable with a modded copy of the game, so ultimately this just slows down people trying to cheat. However, I will concede that this is the most valid use of distributed computing for any game I've heard so far, because I didn't think of verifying players' performance. Granted, this isn't something you can really do real time while they're playing the game, only when submitting results, but this could take about a second to do. If enough other switches flag that result as an impossible outcome, you could flag cheaters on the blockchain ahead of time, or just recalculate the actual score and time that they would have had instead of accepting their fake result. But the thing is, I played the game. I don't think Planet Entertainment knew what the game was going to be like when they wrote that statement, because it's possible to get a perfect score of 100 for everything. Like, 3 good attempts at most gets you a flawless score. This is a game where cheating to get a perfect score wouldn't make any sense. This is a game where speedrunning 100% wouldn't take much more than an 80% of all stages, if that. Digital assets rewards recognition. Users will be rewarded with in-game currency or points, experience, and other items, or earn recognition and certificates. These could be provided by the game, other players, or third parties that host tournaments or other promotions. Yeah, this doesn't need blockchain. This is just an achievement servers that consoles already have. You could do this locally as well. Periodically updating the game's assets like how literally so many other games do now is the only thing that you need to do to get new tournaments or promotion related items into the game. And you can do that without blockchain. It's not 2004 anymore. You don't have to inject update patches via buffer overflows in your EULA anymore. You have update servers provided by the console manufacturers that you can use right now. I don't know if it even costs money anymore. I know it used to, but it might not. Point is, this entire thing that caused people to be upset by misinterpreting it as them farming cryptocurrency on Nintendo Switches wasn't remotely justified. The only people that should have been upset about this are potential investors, because it's all bullshit. And God, does Planet Entertainment need investors? Doing some research into the company, trying to figure out how they got as many licenses as they do, I found out that they're literally the same company as Excess Games, because both of them are headquartered in the same house in Connecticut, and Planet Entertainment's games have mostly been just Switch ports of Excess Games. If that name tells you nothing, they're the publisher behind the American release of DT Racer, which I still say is better than the Korean version, albeit not by much. Fun fact, I really wanted to make a video sometime after my upcoming month of the sleepless hell that is university-grade trenches to explain Excess's game's insanity in localization, but I guess they're busy cooking up Mama and shipping it out while Office Create is screaming that it's bloody raw. But you went too far, you need investors, you need money, you're bringing back a budget game company that spent a decade under a rock, you're gonna need capital, and if you're gonna get it by violating your contract with an IP holder, if at the end of the day, after all the lawsuits, you're still in the black, well, why wouldn't you? I mean, other than the fact that it's probably gonna ruin your name, and clearly Planet Entertainment is struggling because they haven't released anything over the last year other than Cooking Mama Cookstar. And this is why I'm kind of surprised that there's no Fall Elsa Gate, Minnie Mouse girlfriend pregnant suicide bullshit in Cooking Mama Cookstar. I'm glad it doesn't, but like, the best part about the game is how safe and bland it is, which is also at the same time a damn shame because it deserved better. Office Create was right on discarding this dish because honestly, I want to eat something else now, and I guess with that, I suppose the game deserves its final rating score of IGN gave it a 3.